Welcome to my advanced class on Kadai, Fireborn, and Destroyers. I'll cover their buffs in 3.1 and the advanced Hellforge options. Quick version. They're better than before and worth using. Please like, subscribe, comment, and consider donating to my Ko-fi account. Whatever form your support takes, I truly appreciate it. Thank you. The quick version is that Kadai have had their armor buffed 30% and leadership buffed a flat 10 points. But they are now unbreakable until they have lost 75% of their hit points. This means that the Hellforge upgrade to make them permanently unbreakable should be considered optional and not a must-take, as are workarounds like the Standard of Zod. They're still good, but don't feel forced. Even bog standard Kadai are now worth using and much less touchy and delicate. This is a very good thing for Chaos Dwarf players. Also remember that you can heal these units with the Reforge ability from the Demon Smiths, but not the Sorcerer Prophets. This is less effective on Fireborn since they lose models, but they can still keep a key unit above that 25% level at a critical moment. Of these two, the Fireborn are actually better at killing things, in particular infantry. That means all infantry. They have splash damage and enough models that Blazing Body reflects damage back at chaff, and the armor piercing helps them lord over armored infantry, even pretty elite infantry if you're lucky. Of course, that's less efficient against anything that's hardened against flaming attacks, but that's just part of the game. Everyone else gets hosed with magma. The bonus versus infantry of plus 20 is just insane for your efficiency. I mean, it's not that they won't hurt cavalry, but they'll hurt infantry like no tomorrow. The destroyers are inflictors of fear and terror, and are beautifully effective at disruption. Blobs naturally form around them, too. Infantry get tossed around a lot, so destroyers are less efficient at actually wiping them out. On the other hand, their single target damage is pretty high. Basically, the damage ideal is for them to fight something that won't get knocked down, so not foot lords, but mounted lords, preferably ones that aren't anti-large specialists, plus any kind of cavalry, monstrous beasts, single entity monsters, anything that can take a punch and therefore demands the largest, flamiest, can-like Blazing Fist possible. As for Lord skills, we're back in the Hellish Blows section, giving you plus 6 melee attack and plus 12% weapon strength for both variants, further bumping up their offensive clout. Fireborn, like a lot of Chaos Dwarf stuff, actually starts tilted towards melee defense. Destroyers have such outsized weapon damage that percentage buffs are brutal with them. Wretched Warhost is for units ranked 7 and above. If you've nurtured your Kadai that far, they get another 12% weapon strength plus 12 charge bonus flat, which is a very big deal because their charge bonus numbers are only 40 for Fireborn and 30 for a Destroyer base, and plus 10% physical resistance for both. Now, normally the Kadai have 10% physical resistance base, and they can get a maximum of another 10% from Blazing Body as it builds up. So you're making them a lot tankier even before getting them into the fight. Tech tree wise, Boiling Blood Sacrifices add 5 melee defense to the Fireborn and plus 10% for the Destroyers. Again, outsized weapon strength means percentage buffs are just gravy. Demon Forges allow both varieties to inflict flammable if they're ranked 7 or above. This is the same status inflicted by Demon Smiths, Sorcerer Prophets, and the Wolf Rider Regiment of Renown. That means every Kadai unit ranked 7 and above now buffs its own damage, your fire spell damage from Fire and Hushwood lores, your Fireglaive damage, your Infernal Ironsworn damage, your Magma Cannons, Deathstreaker rockets, and even lowly Hobgoblin archers. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Besides knocking down the armament cost to unlock more Kadai, this tech also gives a flat 10% physical resistance for all Kadai units, which means a maximum of 40% max if you have everything including Blazing Body maxed out. Meaning they're significantly tankier late game than even right out of the box for patch 3.1. Remember that magical attacks ignore this, but having a Lamassu in the mosh pit with you makes sure that will not happen, even against missiles. Laugh off those silver bullets. Back to the Hellforge, or should I start calling it the really big Fun-Sized Forge. Your first option is slapping Devastating Flanker on. If you have all the red line buffs, that'll turn Fireborn into 104 charge bonus spanking machines, aimed directly at the enemy's rump. The Destroyers will get 84 charge bonus, which isn't exactly small, if they're aimed at the right target, again, from the flank or behind. Notwithstanding that these might be your mobile anvils for other forces, like Bull Centaur Renders, it's very nice. Barrier Demons give 800 barrier points to either type. That gets you into melee safer and makes it harder to get them below that cursed 25% HP mark. Obviously, this is a good, safe option. Bound Demon of Murder, which sounds pretty evil. It adds a flat 30 charge bonus to both units. So based on our prior math, 52 plus 30 equals 82, so you get to 144 charge bonus from behind. That number sounds familiar, isn't it? Because that's one of the things you can get from Bull Centaurs. So yeah, your early upgrade options turn these into ridiculous flanking monsters in all senses. So what are you waiting for? Number 4 is the Unbreakable slapped on permanently. It's not as mandatory as it used to be, but goodness, it's nice. You will actually have destroyers surviving at 300 HP now. Resilience Demons mean a flat 15% missile resistance. If it's not obvious, shooting is one of the simpler ways to deal with Fireborn and destroyers. Unfortunately for you, it's kind of effective. Even the Fireborn are pretty tall, and destroyers, how many hobbits could live in there? You know, if it wasn't filled with angry lava that hates you. This is another form of damage prevention that never expires, so you might take it as an alternative to the barrier. Channeled Vigor gives you Perfect Vigor. You've heard my rants. You know how highly I rate Perfect Vigor. Now that your units can survive more prolonged fights, you want them to fight at maximum efficiency, because brutalizing your enemies is tiring. It's simple, but damn is it good. Furnace Fire gives you the Forge Fire passive. Just like War Machines, this creates a minus 15 armor debuff on your foes in a radius. This has limited benefit for the Kadai themselves because they have loads of armor piercing. But don't think it's worthless either. It's just that the effect on your basic Axe Infantry and Hobgoblin units is of outsized value. Combine this with Armor Sundering, and your enemies will be pleading for mercy before their fiery doom. Finally, unlike some units, the top option is actually interesting and useful. A missile block chance of 35% with the Rune of Shielding. Here's the thing. It's effective from 360 degrees. The destroyers turning around to pounce on a lord can get shot from behind, and they have a 35% chance of blocking. If you're going to do this, and/or you have Total War unlocked, why wouldn't you combine that with 15% across the board missile resistance? Why wouldn't you? What's wrong with you if you don't? So yeah, this might be taking away some of your mad flank capability, but a Kadai destroyer with a 50% chance to ignore all missiles and a 30% to 40% damage reduction against all physical attacks, and with a Lamassu present against all magical attacks too, that's ridiculous, isn't it? How would you feel about a Chaos Giant that lasts at 50% of your cannonballs, that takes 40% less from the cannonballs that it doesn't completely laugh off? Isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that completely insane? Yes. Yes, it is. And that's why you should try it out once. Put it on your bucket list. Forgive the fangirling, but these units have been fairly maligned, and I'm pleased to see them in a much better state, and with a lot more potential throughout each phase of the game. Having cool units that are crippled is less fun, and less fun is bad for any game. This, therefore, is a good change, and I'm happy to publicize it. Now, all that statistical fun aside, the practical use of these units is quite a lot like what I covered before. Destroyers are the kings of blobs, forming them and spreading damage around and doing lots of knock up and knock back. Fireborn are better at putting up large numbers of kills. Neither are specialized in fighting monsters or cavalry units per se, but should be at least decent in that role, especially destroyers. Also, destroyers will have suspiciously low kills because of terror routing, but you want terror routing. The point being, you can build around them and their outsized fire resistance, which is 35 across the board, and reduces damage before physical resistance kicks in. The Death Shrieker rockets are magical attack, but the magma cannons are not. In other words, a destroyer will at least notice a direct hit on its back from a magma cannon, but they're always angry, ignore it. All the infantry around it will die screaming. It's a little riskier to do this with Fireborn, but not that much, and it's better them than your Infernal God. Obviously, blobs are food for your blunderbusses and fireglaves, and late game with the flammable inflicted on everything around the Kadai unit, the fireglaves have an easy route to 20% extra damage at longer range. Blunderbusses become flaming attack with one flaming sword of ruin. Equally obviously, you can mix and match with flying monsters. I've mentioned the Lamassu. And Bull Renders can come in and hit stuff from behind and put up their own ridiculous charge attack numbers. They don't come in with flaming attacks by default, but that's fine. You want variety. The last thing I'll cover is last because it's the one thing you can't change. Speed. Fireborn at 50 are still far faster than your Infernal Guard and Armstrong, but they'll feel slow if they're charging a gun lock. As much as they can be great flankers, they're actually legit, charging infantry from the front. Destroyers are faster and make better disruptors, but 60 speed isn't all that blazing, pardon the pun. If they can survive a frontal assault, that's an option. You might have to flank just to let your infantry or heavy missile troops get into the fray, but either way there's lots of flexibility, including the absolutely legit tactic of blobbing stuff up around you and dropping a flamestorm right on top. Or a Dreadquake Mortar, or one of the Chaos Dwarf's several bombardment army abilities. It's a time saver! This is my last advanced class video on Hellforge upgrades because we've run out of roster. A lot of factions have units that are simpler, but simpler doesn't necessarily mean easier. It means fewer options and having to do more with those options. That's a different kind of tactical and strategic challenge. So this is far from the end, but I'm pleased to have stuck it out and helped shine a light on how you can be more evil with the Chaos Dwarf roster. And laugh. It's good for your blackened soul. Take care and have fun.